This is Gary Kayye, and it's time for my daily rants and raves, and we're doing a special video cast for Rave Radio's Daily Rants and Rave podcast. And I'm joined today by Steve Capling. Steve Capling is the Director of Experiential Marketing with Christie. Hey, Steve, how are you?
Very good, Gary. How are you doing today?
Well, I think I'm probably warmer than you because you're up there in Toronto land, and I suspect it's a little colder than it is here.
It's significantly colder.
Actually, you guys are in Kitchener. And as everybody knows, Ontario, which is about an hour north of, not quite an hour north of Toronto. It's beautiful up there. I've been to your Oktoberfest, which is an amazing, what's actually, the Oktoberfest is in the city next to you, and I forget the name of that little city.
Kitchener.
You're in Kitchener, but there's a city next to you that has like an amazing Oktoberfest every year, which I've gone up there. Waterloo, that's it. That's an awesome time. But we're here not to talk about Oktoberfest. We're here to talk about NAB, which is coming up here in a few weeks. In Vegas, and you guys have some exciting things that you're doing at NAB as you do every year.
Yes, absolutely.
So tell us about what you're going to launch at NAB and what we can expect so that people know. And of course, we'll be covering it. Rave will be covering what you guys do, but tell us.
Okay. Well, first, if you don't mind, I'd like to let everyone know that Christie is going to be located in the South Hall lower level in booth SL 2609. And in our booth, Gary, this year, we're planning on having what we're calling the Innovation Theater. And we believe this theater is going to be the future of the cinema experience. And it's going to provide filmmakers with new, exciting tools. It's going to allow them to create a more powerful, more immersive movie-going experience. And basically, it's going to be a 20-minute presentation, and it's going to explore a variety of different approaches to high frame rate production. This is going to where we're going to show and explain how different scenes can be rendered with different frame rates, so using different shutter angles, and it'll basically complement the filmmaker's creative vision. On top of that, in there, we're actually going to show a side-by-side 3D comparison, which I feel is really exciting because it's some 3D feature film content that was rendered for the 3D industry standard of 3.5-foot Lamberts. And then it's going to be side by side with 3D content that was specially rendered for 14-foot Lamberts, which is actually the 2D industry standard. So I think audiences are going to be amazed at the detail and realism that the technology can unlock for a significantly more immersive movie-going experience.
Yeah, and Christie's already the leading company out there putting in digital projectors to replace film projectors in theaters worldwide. And you guys have been at the forefront of that market for years now. And I actually had the opportunity a couple of years ago going up and actually seeing not only the production of your cinema quality projectors, but also got a chance to at that time see one of the first 3D viewings of that. And it was mind-boggling. So. The Hobbit was done in an unusual frame rate, and I think that's sort of what you're referring to is that there's this capability, and I forget the frame rate they used for the Hobbit. Was it 400 frames or 400 frames per second or something like that?
No, the Hobbit was actually 48 frames per second, but the industry standard and for Hollywood has been 24 frames per second since the 20s.
Right. So therefore, they're doubling the frame rate. And so what you're going to do is show how Christie projectors can actually handle this at many different frame rates and actually give them the ability to compare not necessarily side by side, but the same scene in different frame rates, or what's the experience going to be like during that 20-minute presentation?
Well, essentially, we're just we're showing how filmmakers can capture their scenes in up to even whatever the camera is capable of, which might be 120 hertz or 120 frames per second, and then they're going to be able to they can edit it at different frame rates, which could be 24, could be 48, could be 60, based on action scenes, based on the impact they want to portray, or even dramatic scenes where you still want that cinematography that comes with the 24 frames per second look. Okay,
so I got it totally. So when you've got a film projector in a theater, you have no choice. You have to render everything, you have to produce everything, and you have to display it at 48 frames or 24 frames per second. But because now we're using digital, right? We can now have the movie have some scenes in the movie that are 24 frames per second, which gives you that sort of traditional film look. Some scenes at 48 frames per second, but even some scenes at higher frame rates where you have a lot of action, so you don't kind of get that shutter effect, and you also don't get the noise that sometimes is caused by slower frame rates. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, precisely. And again, that is that's an outlook on the future and where it's heading.
Right. So this will give, in addition to sort of the interest level that we have as consumers, and going and looking at something like that, just so we're educated on the technology, really, and this is an awesome opportunity for the actual filmmakers, production companies, and people involved in the actual production of films, whether it be in the direction side or on the in-house production side, to actually really understand technologically that you're not limited by one particular frame rate because of the new technology. You can be thinking outside the box. You don't have to set your frame rate at the beginning of the production schedule. You can actually vary it as you move along depending on what your action calls for.
Yeah, absolutely. And to me, one of the other big, as I mentioned, the other big leaps in the technology as we're moving forward is trying to get the industry to adopt a brighter standard for 3D as well, because if 14-foot Lamberts is the standard for 2D, why shouldn't it be the standard for 3D?
Right. So right now, I think you said the standard that they've accepted for 3D is 3-foot Lamberts. Is that what you said?
I mean, there's a range. It's about 3.5, maybe up to 6, depending upon the system you're using, but certainly nowhere near the 14 that it should be at. Right.
So therefore, what happens is, for those of you listening that don't really know the difference, is that the 3D films are going to be not as bright. So what's going to appear to the consumer as it being dimmer, which and that's basically because you're sharing sort of half the light with the left and half the right with the light with the right. So you're inherently you're going to have less brightness. But what you're saying is, with the technology, there's no reason why we shouldn't go ahead or the Hollywood industry itself shouldn't go ahead and boost up the light output, because you're capable of making projectors that are brighter than that now.
Exactly.
Okay.
Absolutely.
All right, that's pretty cool. So again, this is going to be at NAB, and your booth number, you're in the South Hall, and what's your booth number again?
It's SL 2609.
Right, 2609. So this is really going to be a technology showcase more than, hey, here's a product we make. This is really going to be all about explaining, okay, here's how the technology currently works. We're going to show you what it currently looks like. Here's what it can be like, and we are capable of building you whatever you need to make sure that in the future, the projectors that are in theaters are capable of showing whatever it is you want to show. You're not going to be limited by the technology.
No, definitely not. One of the other things, there are a few other things going on in the booth that I wouldn't mind sharing with you, but we're going to be demonstrating our latest in 4K innovation as well. So visitors are going to be able to view hopefully what is one of the most compelling 4K demonstrations that they may have ever seen, and I'd like to encourage attendees to stop by and see that as well. We also have our broadcast set again this year. Last year it was debuted, and basically it combines a multitude of Christie technology, and it includes Christie microtiles, our interactivity kit, and then of course our 55-inch indoor LCD panels, a Christie Jumpstart, as well as the Spider X20.
Right, that microtiles demo that you guys did for like a production studio, I think you sort of did something like what it would look like in a production studio format, or yes. It was amazing. That multi-screen microtile design is just stunning, and of course, as it's no secret that I'm a huge fan of microtiles. I think it's one of the most creative products that's been in the industry for a long time, and I think you guys really have not only an interesting niche there, but what's cool about it is that you have the ability to pretty much, you're not limited by creativity. In fact, I actually have my Christie Book of Shapes here, which I love.
Nice.
For those people watching, if you have not ordered this, you have a couple of different options to order this. You can actually go to the Christie website, and you can actually fill out an order form. We have information not only on our website, but also on Christie's got it on their own website as well at christiedigital.com. But you also have an iPad app, and I know that's not what you were intending to talk about today, but the iPad app is pretty cool because it's more interactive than the book, obviously, because you have videos in there and you actually show. It's like a book full of case studies. So, but anyway, go ahead. I know you're going to show microtiles, and what else are you going to show?
Yeah, precisely. And that app, includes locations for all of the installations as well. So it is really unique and useful. A couple of the other things on the plate for NAB are going to be the our new Christie Weatherall outdoor LCD flat panel. So it's going to be the first time that this audience has seen it since our global launch at ISC earlier this year. This 55-inch flat panel is dust, water, and impact resistant. It's also capable of operating outdoors in between the extreme temperature ranges of -20 to +40 degrees Fahrenheit. So that's without a need for an enclosure. So basically, I feel it makes it a perfect solution for retailers, restaurant patios, even ski resorts to beach resorts.
Right, and also drive-ins displays and digital cinema applications where they're having to right now put a flat panel display inside of an expensive enclosure to keep the weather off of it and allow it to breathe. You don't have to do that basically, and it can be mounted vertically or horizontally.
Yes, that's correct. Yeah, and the other zone or area on the booth that we're showcasing for NAB is going to be our projection gallery, and that includes our latest LCD single chip and 3-chip DLP product offerings, and it's also going to be the North American debut of our new E and G series single chip DLP projection technology.
Okay, so are you able to talk about that a little bit? I know that already has debuted in other places around the world a little bit. Can you tell us a little bit about that? Because I think that's going to be a very popular product category because of the price range it'll hit and also the applications that it'll be available for.
Precisely, we've addressed that, and it's both are available in.
They call it WUXJ or something like that. I forget the exact letters, but 1920 by 1080 and also 1920 by 1200, which is the wider version of 16 by 10 aspect ratio version of that as well.
Right, and obviously some brightness ranges as well, ranging from about 5500 to in the neighborhood of 7500 to 8000.
Okay, and when does that? By the way, when does that series of projectors ship?
That's a really good question. I believe we're shipping now.
Okay. All right. I didn't realize it was going to be shipping that quickly. I knew that you guys showed it at ISE, but I didn't realize it was going to be available that quickly. So, again, South Hall, booth number again. I didn't write it down. I apologize.
No problem. It's SL2609.
SL2609. All right. And so you're going to be showing the demo. It's going to take 20 minutes long. By the way, I assume it's free, but do you have to get passes ahead of time? Do you stand in line? How does that work? Because obviously there's a limited number of seats in that theater.
Yes, of course. It is. It's definitely free, and it will allow 28 people to view the demonstration. It'll be every hour on the hour, and basically we're going to have a reception counter at the entrance of the theater so that people can sign up and kind of sign up for the time of day and the day that they want to, that works the best for their schedule.
So if they'll show up to your booth early, they could sign up for a future showing so they don't have to stand in line. So they can watch that. The good thing about that is, and I would, for those of you who think that, okay, well, this is only geared towards Hollywood, I wouldn't think that, and I think you ought to consider going, and I'll tell you why. Because what you're going to show there and what's happening there is what's going to happen in our market 2 or 3 years from now, meaning the regular commercial AV market, where we're going to be showing content that's not only going to be various resolutions, even the 4K content that you're going to be showing, but also different aspect ratios and different refresh rates. It's going to be commonplace because you have computers running anywhere from 50 to 60 and sometimes as high as 120 hertz. You have video that currently right now is produced in Blu-ray format that's either at from 48 to 60 frames per second, but has the capability. The new streaming standards have the capability of doing as high as I believe 120 hertz, 120 frames per second. So we're going to be dealing with these different refresh rates, and you can't necessarily plug everything into everything and expect it to work perfectly. You're going to have not only issues with your display, but you're going to have issues with all your switching and routing equipment too. So you're going to need to get educated on this. It's sort of like all the issues with HDMI, but at a different sort of level because it's inherent in the signal. So that's going to be really cool to look at. And of course, I'm a huge fan of the microtiles and the weather all display, which I think has some great digital, because I believe that our industry really needs to rapidly move towards attacking the digital signage market at a much faster pace. I think that's a good product that sort of gives our industry a unique into that market, because right now, as you said, if you use anybody else's display, you've got to put it in an all-weather box, which adds another cost to the application. So I appreciate you joining us today. Is there anything else I didn't cover, or anything else I didn't give you a chance to cover? Because I know I want to ask you questions about InfoComm, but I also know that you're probably not willing to tell me anything about what you're going to do at InfoComm, so it might be a waste of my time. But I got to ask.
I think I've certainly addressed the majority of displays that we're going to be showcasing at NAB. And for InfoComm, I'd really rather hold tight on, keep tight lips on what we're going to be going to do there.
Yeah, well, I can imagine. I suspect that you've got a lot of things in the pipeline, and also you don't want to play your cards too early, which I can understand. Everybody kind of is always jockeying for the positioning of getting the exposure there. But I was wondering, is it possible that we could do something like this before InfoComm to give everybody a sort of a sneak peek of what you're going to be doing at InfoComm? Is that possible?
Yeah, most definitely. I'd be happy to get together with you again a little closer to the time.
All right, so I'm gonna hold you to that sometime in the couple weeks running up to InfoComm that you're willing to spend some time with me like you did today. I wish you the best of luck at NAB. We'll see you out there, and definitely take the time, for those of you who are online, take the time to go there and check this demo out, and also check out the microtiles and all the other products. And the 4K demo I'd be interested in seeing as well. So best of luck with it, and thanks for joining me today. And again, this has been Gary Kayye with my daily rants and raves. We've been joined today by the Director of Experiential Marketing, Steve Capling. Did I get that title right?
Sure did. Okay. Thank you, Gary. Appreciate your time. I look forward to seeing you at NAB.
Yeah, and best of luck to Christy, and thank you very much for joining me today.
You bet. Take care.